The NFL draft is days away. Welcome into Chatt It Up Sports. I'm Greg Larnard. Who's going where? Who needs what? We are going to find out with a very special guest. Plus, a couple of the boys are with us here this evening as well. Stay tuned. Chatt It Up Sports next. As I mentioned, I'm your humble host, Greg Larnard, and alongside me today, we got a skeleton crew, but it's a strong crew. We're missing a couple of members. Miggy Malcolm Harris, a.k.a. 17, a.k.a. the Thin Boy Running Club right now. Boy, I saw you on What the Truck today. Something you posted. I didn't even recognize you. Didn't even recognize you.
Stop, bro. I appreciate it. Your boy is just, I'm trying, man. I'm trying, bro.
They're calling him the Slim Reaper now.
Slim Reaper, that's what they call your boy. Yes, sir. What's up, baby?
And the maestro behind all the scenes, and he'll be on screen today because we were talking a lot of college football and into the NFL. Joseph J.G. Guthrie. What's up, Jay?
What's up, boys? What's up? How we doing? It's college football players getting drafted.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
This is, what would you call this? If you could equate this to like a season or a holiday or maybe like an NFL quarterback, like what is the NFL draft for you?
Oh, as a college football fan, it's like
Yes.
it's like the appetizer. It's like pregame. It's like a pregame. It's like, hey, this is like all the guys you saw last year that had really good years. You clap for them. Thanks for everything you did for college football. It's great for the sport. Go have fun. Go ball. Go earn the money that you've earned. And then once that's done, we're looking towards fall camp, and the next thing you know, the season's here. So it's just like, yeah, this is the moment where it's like, oh, hey, football. Smell it in the air.
Smell it in the air.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miggy, you're always good at this. What NFL quarterback would you equate the NFL draft to in your eyes? It's like a Tua.
From a talent level?
Present day, right now.
Yeah, man. I would go with Jared Goff. It's not crazy.
Dude, that's exactly who I was thinking.
It ain't crazy in talent, but like there's so much worse that we could see in this NFL draft. So yeah, it's Jared Goff. It's serviceable.
It's very, very serviceable. To get into the draft even further, not that we don't have an expert here in Joseph Guthrie, but I want to bring on somebody who works directly with college football. He is a college football analyst for Pro Football Focus, as well as the co-host, along with Dalton Wasserman, on the Preferred Walk-On podcast, and a man who has allegedly resorted to eating grass for whatever reason on camera. Put your hands together for my man, Max Chadwick. What's up, dude?
What up, fellas? How we doing, man?
Good. What's going on with you eating grass on camera, bro?
Dude, so it's like I actually have like a goodie bag my mom got me for Easter, and like it's like edible, like sugary grass that are in there. It's really good. It's not actual grass. Dalton made it sound like it was actual grass I was just eating out here, but no, it's like an edible sugary grass that actually it's really good. I'd highly recommend it.
Where do we get one of those? Where do you even get? I've never even seen that on a shelf.
I'll hook you up my plug Shannon Chadwick, and she'll get you all sorted out. I actually have no idea where she gets it, but
that's insane. That is wild. All right, well, let's talk NFL draft with him. Joseph, you're the man to talk NFL draft, so I'm gonna let you go first, and we'll kind of just go around and we'll ask Max our questions.
Oh man, okay. So first one, straight off the docket. Okay, listen, I know Fernando, he's number one. Okay, that's pretty much set in stone, barring some wild, crazy. I don't even know, like, how would we calculate if that ended up not being the level of move? Number two is where my head's at. Okay. Number two pick. All right. Projected on PFF right now, it's Arvell Reese from Ohio State. And I get it. I understand why. I was a little bit more of a Sonny Styles guy. It's just me personally. So my big question for you is, if the Jets decided not to go with Arvell Reese, where do you think they go?
Yeah, I think Arvell Reese is probably the favorite right now. I'm with you. I would not take him at number 2 overall. I still think it's a huge projection with him. Like if you're looking for the best edge rusher in the draft, I would look to David Bailey or Ruben Bain. If you're looking for the best linebacker in the draft, Joe, I'm with you. I would take Sonny Styles, his teammate at linebacker. So I get there's like some versatility in there, and people are excited by that, and they think he could be the next, Micah Parsons or Abdul Carter or Jalen Walker. But I don't think he was nearly as good of a pass rusher as any of those guys were in college. So I do think he's kind of a boomer bust player and not a guy that I would take at number 2 overall. I do think if they don't go with Arvell Reese, their next pick would be David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, because I think they are looking for an edge rusher for their defense. If they take Arvell Reese, I do believe he'll play edge rusher for them. And I think David Bailey, I know they didn't bring him in on a 30 visit, but I do believe they've seen everything they need from David Bailey. I think he's still in the running to be that number 2 overall pick. Now, I still think Arvell Reese will be the pick in a couple days. But I think David Bailey from Texas Tech, he's got a shot at least to be the number 2 overall pick. But I think it's really down to those two right now between Arvell Reese and David Bailey. I would give the edge to Arvell Reese as of right now, but I would not be surprised if David Bailey is the number 2 pick.
Makes sense. And he had an incredible season at Texas Tech, dude. Like he was such a lightning guy to watch. My next question, and then I'll let Greg or Malcolm take over. Jeremiah Love at 4. Okay, our resident Tennessee Titan fan is not here, and I don't know how he would feel about taking a running back at 4 overall. If I had to guess, I would say he likes Jeremiah Love as a player, but I don't know how he'd feel about taking a running back number 4 overall. Thoughts on Jeremiah Love? Should the Titans do it? Is it worth it? Should they go somewhere else? Where's your head at?
Yeah, it's tough because, the only teams I would say, take a running back in the first round are the ones that I'm like, hey, if you're ready to win right now and that's the missing piece, then go for it, right? I don't think the Titans are in that position right now, but at the same time, like this draft isn't good enough to say a guy like Jeremiah Love isn't worthy of being a top 5 or top 10 pick in the draft. Like I would say right now, Jeremiah Love is the second best player in the draft after Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. So, I mean, it's hard to say, hey, when you're second best player in the draft, like taking him at number 4 overall is not worth it. But you're right. There is positional value to take into account there. I don't know if I would do it if I'm Tennessee. I probably would go elsewhere, like maybe look to a wide receiver to add to that offense to help out Cam Ward, like a Mekhi Lemon or a Carnell Tate or even a Jordan Tyson or someone like that. That's where I would personally look at number 4. Most likely just help out Cam Ward, or even if you want to look to the defensive side of the ball and get an edge rusher like Ruben Bain, or even David Bailey if he falls there at number 4 overall too. That could be great for Robert Saleh's defense too. But yeah, I probably wouldn't do it from the Titans. But again, I understand it because I think Jeremiah Love, like in terms of talent, is a top 2 player in this draft. But the positional value of running back is why he would fall a little bit lower than number 4 overall for me.
Mickey, I don't mean to cut you off on this one. I wanted to just jump in on piggyback on that because I did want to bring up something directly relating to the running backs and the Titans. You sort of answered my question about the Titans and where they might lean. And I know and again, Chase isn't here, so we can't really bounce this off of him as a Titans fan, but you have to sort of juggle, hey, do we get some explosive playmakers for Cam Ward, or do we sort of revamp that defense? And with Robert Saleh there, I assume that they're probably going to lean on the defensive side of the football, if he's obviously has an opportunity to make those decisions, which you would assume he would. But I wanted to stick with the running backs and talk a little bit about other running backs other than Jeremiah Love. Obviously, he's the most dynamic running back. What would be I know he could probably fit into anywhere, but if you could like literally handpick him to go somewhere, where would be the best place that you could see him? And then just from a perspective of who else is sort of shown out from the running back position in this draft that you like?
That's a good question. I don't think he's leaving the top 10. So I think Tennessee at 4. I've heard even Arizona at 3 is a possibility too. That's another team where I'm like, I don't know if I would take a running back at 3 with all the holes they have at their roster too, but I've heard he can go as high as number 3 overall. So I would not rule that out either. So there's a chance that Jeremiah Love's not even on the board at number 4 overall for Tennessee. Now, I still think he's most likely landing spot is the Titans at number 4, but that is a possibility. I think Washington at 7 would be really interesting. If he did somehow fall out of the top 10, which I don't believe will happen, Dallas at 12 could be phenomenal for Jeremiah Love too, but I can see the Commanders at number 7 pulling the trigger if he falls a little bit further than that. I don't think the Giants would do it considering they have a pretty good backfield already with Cam Scadaboo coming off of injury, but I mean, they'd be really a fun complement to each other, kind of a thunder and lightning with Cam Scadaboo and Jeremiah Love right there. I don't think Cleveland definitely should not do it with Quinshon Judkins there in town, but yeah, I think Tennessee at 4 makes sense. Washington at 7 makes sense. I don't know how much farther he's fallen than there, honestly, considering how much teams love him in this draft. Like, I still think he goes somewhere in the top 4 of this draft at the end of the day. So I don't know how much further he could actually fall, but I think those two teams right there would make a lot of sense. If he somehow, like if Minnesota could trade up and get him, that could be fun too, but he's definitely not falling to 18. But yeah, I think those teams in the top 10, like Arizona, Tennessee, and Washington, those are the most likely landing spots I would say for him right now.
What about the other running backs that in this draft class that you like that are probably obviously not on Jeremiah Love's level, but you like in this draft and could go different places? Who are some other guys that you like this in this draft?
Yeah, I'll first preface it by saying I think this running back class drops off a cliff after Jeremiah Love. I think he is so far and away the best running back in this draft. So if Tennessee, who does need help at running back, the one thing I'll say that would make a lot of sense for them taking Jeremiah Love at 4 is, hey, this running back class after Jeremiah Love is not very good. I really do not like this class that much. After Jeremiah Love, like I don't know if there is another number 1 running back in the NFL after Jeremiah Love. But some of the guys after him that I really like Jonah Coleman, the running back out of Washington. I think he's a really good player. He's been that way for his entire career at Arizona and Washington. Very physical player, bowling ball of a running back who's actually a better receiver than you would think. He's most likely a committee guy, but he could play that David Montgomery role that was so good for the Lions for so long. I think he could be that kind of running back in the NFL. Jadarian Price, Jeremiah Love's teammate, he'll probably be the second running back off the board. I've seen even mocks have him go late first round. I don't think he should go late first round, but he's got all the tools in the world. Just got to work on his vision a little bit. Mike Washington Jr., the running back out of Arkansas, he's another guy that might go in the second round of the draft. Again, size and speed. He's got a lot of tools, still kind of developing a little bit. But my favorite one after Jeremiah Love is Jonah Coleman from Washington. But like I said, I do not think it's a very good running back class overall at all. It's got a great one in Jeremiah Love at the top. But after that, I think there's a huge drop-off between him and everyone else.
Definitely. I want to talk about Jeremiah Love because I think the landing spot for him is going to be at number 3, but I don't think it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals. I do think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to trade to the top 3 spot to go get it. It just makes sense.
After they just signed Javonte Williams too?
Yeah, for sure. I just don't think
that would be such a Jerry move.
I just don't. I mean, we've seen this model with these, thunder and lightning type duos. Like you got it with the B. Robinsons in Atlanta. You got it with, you had it in Detroit with Sonic and Knuckles. Now they're calling it Sonic and Shadow. I don't know. I have a feeling that they want that offense super powered to really go all in and see what they can do because they need it. I will say, I do want to talk about a team in the NFC East, and it's the Giants. Moving on from Sexy Dexy, man. All right. If you're the GM, Max, and you're sitting in that war room, pick 5 and pick 10, and the following players are gone off the board. Let's just say Avril Reese is gone at 2. Of course, Mendoza's gone. Let's say I'm going to just throw, because I am so high on him, I think Sonny Styles is going to be a superstar. So let's just say he's gone. And then 4, Jeremiah Love is gone. Where are you going?
Good question. Because Sonny Styles is a guy that I would love in that defense because I think they could use help at linebacker. And even John Harbaugh, we know as a head coach of the Ravens for so long that he values linebackers a lot. I mean, Ray Lewis was there forever, probably the greatest linebacker of all time. Obviously they trade for Roquan Smith. Like they value linebackers in their defense a lot. So I do think that, he's spoken before how linebacker is a premium position in his eyes. It might not be for every team, but it is in John Harbaugh's eyes. So I definitely think Sonny Styles is on the board there. But I think the best pick they can make there at 5 overall is take his teammate in Caleb Downs. I think he will be there at number 5 overall. And like I said before, he is the best player in this draft. And I think the Giants, who need help at safety, they don't have a great safety unit. I know they got Javon Holland back there who's pretty good, but Tyler Nubin's kind of been a bust so far, I think, in his career. I think Caleb Downs will be a phenomenal fit in that defense too. And I think, like I said before, he is the best football player in the draft. So you cannot go wrong there at number 5 overall. And then the good thing for the Giants, because I know so many Giants fans are saying, well, we need a receiver. Well, guess what? You got the number 10 overall pick too. And you could probably get my number 1 receiver in the draft, Mekhi Lemon, at number 10 overall. So I think that if you take Caleb Downs at 5 and take a receiver at 10, that is the ideal scenario for the New York Giants right there. And you get Caleb Downs, who I would put up there with Kyle Hamilton and Derwin James, the best safety prospects we've seen in recent memory. And we both know how good those two turned out. I think Caleb Downs is right there with them in terms of how good he is coming out of college. So I think taking Caleb Downs at 5 makes a lot of sense for New York. And then taking a receiver at number 10 overall would be an ideal strategy, I think, for New York.
Yeah. I want to stick on the wide receiver rankings real quick because there's a lot of guys saying that, listen, Carnell Tate is good. You know, Tyson is obviously what he is out of Arizona State, but you had Makai Lemon as your first receiver off the board. Why is that, brother?
Yeah, I don't know if he will be the first one taken. I do think Carnell Tate most likely will be the first one taken, probably by Cleveland if I had to expect it right now. I do think the Browns will take an Ohio State receiver right there. It makes a lot of sense to me. But I like Makai Lemon a lot, man. I think, obviously he's not the biggest. He's around 5'10" right now, but man, he plays like he's 6'4" in the red zone. Like the stuff that he does in jump ball 50-50 situations should not be possible really for someone of his size. And that kind of explains his entire game. He's just a dog out there, man. He gets open at will. He's so good after the catch. He was the best receiver in college football this past season when he won the Blitnikoff Award. And, honestly, gone are the days where you need to have a Julio Jones or a Calvin Johnson type of receiver that's just a physical freak out there. You don't need that anymore. I mean, look at what Jackson Smith-Njigba just did, winning Offensive Player of the Year. Look at what even a former USC receiver as well, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he's done with the Lions in his career too. Like a lot of the best receivers in the NFL aren't the physical freaks that we see time and time again that we've seen in the past. I think Makai Lemon, I'm saying he's going to be an Offensive Player of the Year candidate like those two are, but he could be a really damn good receiver in the NFL, maybe even a top 10, top 15 receiver in the NFL too. So I like him a lot, and I like him the most in this receiver class right now, but it is close. I do think it's close between actually a few guys in this class, but as of right now, if you ask me to take who I think will have the best career in the NFL, I'm going to take Makai Lemon out of USC.
That's great.
Joseph, do you mind if I jump in here on wide receivers?
No,
I do. I want to ask about one of your former guys, Zachariah Branch, and him obviously getting arrested just a couple of days ago. I don't know if you were going to go there next, but I did want to ask about him. How do you think that affects his draft stock moving into this draft here this week, Max?
I mean, I don't have all the information. I did read up the police report though, and to me, it's a non-issue. I mean, it really. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Like I think I'm not going to speak for the cop or anything like that, but I think it was a pretty ridiculous arrest. If you guys really read the police report, like they made it sound a lot worse in the reports than it actually was. In terms of when you actually read the description of what happened. I think the cop basically said, "Hey, can you move out of the way of the sidewalk?" And Zachariah moved a little bit, and then the cop didn't find that suitable enough, and he arrested him. Like it was like, okay, this is not as bad as some other stuff that have come out recently and in recent years around prospects. So. I don't have all the information. Obviously, if I was running a team, we would have our team on it and just want to get as much information as possible. But just from reading the police report, I'm like, this is not an issue at all. I don't think it's that much of an issue. So I don't think it should affect his stock at all. I still think he'll probably be a second-round pick in the draft. Now, there is a lot of questions with Zachariah Branch, not off the field, in my opinion, but on the field. I think I like him a lot, and I still would take him probably in the late second, early third round. But the question is he a gadget player or can he be a complete receiver? Because at Georgia, more than half of his targets, in fact, the vast majority of his targets came at or near the line of scrimmage and screens and all that, which is great. And he can, make plays after the catch. He's got great feet. And he's very shifty. But the question is, can you be more than that, right? Because we've seen these kind of gadget players enter the NFL and just never develop into anything more than that, honestly. I think he's got the talent and the physical talent to be more than that, but we haven't really seen it yet in his career. So that's the question I would have with Zachariah Branch. But yeah, in terms of the off-field stuff that just popped up recently, again, I don't have all the information, but to me, it's not much of an issue to me.
And then another guy that I wanted to ask quickly about receiver-wise, Jay, and then I'll let you jump back in. But I wanted to ask about Chris Brazzell just quickly from Tennessee. And I've read some stuff about maybe like day 2, day 3 guys, and I'm sure there'll be more day 2 guys, but I've sort of seen them linked together a little bit. I know they're different receivers and they're different types and whatnot in terms of like maybe Zachariah Branch is going to be a gadget guy, but Chris Brazzell's got a bigger body. He might be able to play on the outside. So talk to me a little bit about Brazzell from Tennessee. And I know he had a really good year last year and just the prospects of him versus Zachariah. And do you think he has maybe a little bit better of an opportunity with his size plus the speed, because he was like 0.02 seconds slower than Zachariah Branch and everybody talks about how fast he is. Just about all of that and where you see Brazzell in this upcoming draft.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be the first receiver taken on day 2 of the draft, because I do think we have, the big, 6 receivers of Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, and Denzel Boston. So I think those 6 guys will probably go in the first round. I think Brazzell probably will be the first receiver taken on day 2. Like it's either him, Chris Bell, Jeremy Bernard, maybe Zachariah Branch, but really him, Chris Bell, and Jeremy Bernard that are probably the first guys in day 2, in my opinion, if all those 6 guys go in the first round, of course. But I like Chris Brazzell. You know, I don't think I think he's a little bit better than the recent, because obviously, you know, the worry is whenever you see those Tennessee receivers come out, like, okay, so just going to be a Jalen Hyatt, where it just doesn't work in the NFL because of Josh Heupel's system and how it doesn't really translate very well to the NFL. I do think Brazzell has more to him than just you know, the goal balls that you see all the time in Tennessee's offense too. He's a little bit shiftier than you would think for his size. Like I mentioned before, he's a freak athlete at his size too. I like him. I do think he's worth a day 2 pick in the draft, but I do understand there being some concern with teams and saying, okay, you know, is this really going to work in the NFL, or is this system just not conducive to producing NFL level wide receivers? Because we've seen it, you know, fail time and time again in the NFL. But I think Chris Brazzell has a chance to buck that trend. Though, be a little bit better than some of his counterparts at Tennessee.
Greg, you actually set me up kind of perfect for that. Well, yeah. But my whole topic about the whole Zachariah thing would have been more about the Athens Clark County Police Department and their just absolute hatred for Georgia football players.
For
but
real.
that's a whole nother that's a different topic for a different podcast, a different conversation. So we talked about receivers. I wanted to kind of transition a little bit to guys across from the receivers. So Mansour Delane seems to be like, I guess, the consensus one of the number one cornerback. But I wanted to ask about a guy who was viewed like that up until this past season in Jermod McCoy. Where have you heard about Jermod? Like, is he still projected to be a high draft pick from corner? Are teams going to take a chance with him coming off the ACL injury? Because I believe he didn't play at all this season. So I'm curious, like, what's the thermometer there with teams for Jermod? Is he still one of those? Is he still viewed as highly as he was because of how good his 2024 season was? Or are teams a little bit hesitant? What have you heard about Jermod McCoy?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea. That's gonna be one of those fascinating storylines in draft days, just what his stock, and even Jordan Tyson, you know, with all his injury concerns too coming out too. Because we've seen it. Like last year, I would have said Will Johnson, oh yeah, slam dunk top 10 pick, and then he falls to second round of the draft because of the injury history, right? And I think that Jerome McCoy's injury history is probably even a little more severe than Will Johnson's once coming out of college. You know, Savon Ravel fell a little bit further than I thought in the draft too because of his injury concern. So I have no idea. Truthfully, I have no idea what's going to happen to Jerome McCoy. Now, what I can tell you is I would take him in the top 15 of the draft. Like, I have no problem with that. I think, of course, I got to get my medical team to clear that first because I want to make sure that's all good. But, like, his 2024 tape, man, was so freaking good that I would have said, you know, if he was just as good in 2020, maybe he played and was just as good in 2025, which I understand is a big if, right? Because he didn't play at all this year. But if he did play and was just as good as his previous year, if not a little bit better, he would have been up there with Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs as the best player in the draft, in my opinion. I really thought he had that kind of potential. And honestly, with positional value for Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Love, like with the Jets needing a corner, we could be talking about Jeremiah McCoy as a number 2 overall pick if that happened, right? It didn't happen. He hasn't played this year. That is a big talking point right now. But the talent is too good, and this draft is not good enough, frankly, for him to fall much further than the top 15. Now, maybe the medicals are that concerning, considering, you know, he didn't play at all after tearing his ACL last January. So it was already 12 months of him not playing. Then he didn't work out of the combine. And then it took a while for him to do his pro day workout too. So it was a while before he was working out, which I think is a concern for teams. So they have to get the medicals cleared, and we'll see just how bad the medicals were for Jeremiah McCoy in the draft. Like, if they're all good and they think, hey, this guy's going to be fine, he's going to be a great player for us, and he's going to be able to play for a long time, then yeah, he could go top 15, maybe even top 10 in the draft. But if the medicals are concerning to teams, we could see Jeremiah McCoy fall to the I don't know, outside of the first round, but maybe he does. Like I said, the Will Johnson fall last year shocked me. And I would not be shocked if we see a similar type of fall for Jeremiah McCoy if the medicals are that concerning to teams.
It almost feels like, and I don't mean to cut either of you off, but it almost seems like a Roger McCreary situation with the Titans a couple of years ago, where they took him in the first round with the sketchy medicals. He kind of fell down the first round draft board. He got taken later in the first round, and he really hasn't worked out, hasn't recovered since then. But go ahead, Joseph or Mickey, you guys can jump back in.
Malcolm, is your question still pertaining to the first round? Because mine's kind of wrapping up.
No, it's actually a playoff of yours. So go ahead and finish up.
Okay, Max, my final question at least for the first round was just, is there a name, is there a guy that you think isn't really projected, isn't really talked about to be a first round guy that could end up being a surprise, that somebody's like, oh, I did not expect so-and-so to take this player? Are there any names floating around there that you think probably are projected second, third round that could end up being a first round guy because he's just a good fit, or maybe he had good interviews or a good workout or something like that? Are there any names that are appearing to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Jadarian Price, I would not be shocked if Seattle at 32 overall takes him because obviously they're looking to replace Kenneth Walker. Again, that'd be a big reach, in my opinion, if they did that, but don't be shocked if that does happen. Outside of that, like Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher out of UCF, is getting a lot of buzz. Maybe he sneaks into the first round, but I expect him more to be a early second round pick. Chris Johnson, the corner out of Miami, like maybe the Dolphins take him at number 30 overall. The Chris Johnson, the corner out of San Diego State, maybe the Miami Dolphins take him at number 30 overall. So that's one right there too. I'm trying to think of some other ones that really could surprise people. Like maybe someone falls in love with Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. I would love that personally. I think he is a first round caliber player in this draft, but don't know if he'll actually get there. The other one that I've seen a lot of insiders, that well-respected insiders, kind of put in their first round mock drafts based on what they're hearing is Keelan Rutledge, the guard from Georgia Tech. Again, not a guy that I would take in the first round. He's more of a day 2 prospect to me. But I think teams could fall in love with the mentality that that guy plays with. And he was a great guard at Georgia Tech, really his entire career. But again, he's more of a second, third round pick to me and probably will end up on day 2. But based on what the insiders are saying, I think Keelan Rutledge, the guard from Georgia Tech, he could be a surprise first round selection too.
I want to talk about 2 questions. The first, we naturally we talk Tennessee and Maval and Jamad. I think has exceptional tape. There's this guy, he puts this hood on after every single incompletion by the name of Colton Hood. Love Colton Hood's game. So I want to ask, is there any chance Colton is a first round pick given his tape and what he's shown as his time at Tennessee?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think there's a chance that guy goes in the first round. I think, he's one of the best corners in the draft. And when you are that, I mean, he's probably could be a first round pick because of that. So I'm actually a big fan of Colton Hood as well. I think I had him, CB5 in this class. He was a great athlete, good build too. Ran a 4.44 in the 40-yard dash, 40.5-inch vertical. I think if you're playing a lot in press coverage, Colton Hood is your guy. Now, if you're a guy that a team that plays a lot of off zone coverage, I don't love that fit for Colton Hood. So if you're playing a lot of press coverage, love him in your defense. If you're not, that's when it gets a little hazy for me. But yeah, Colton Hood, I would not be surprised at all if he goes in the first round. Like I think if he doesn't go in the first round, he'll be one of the first picks of the second round. So yeah, I absolutely think that it is possible he goes somewhere in the late first round. I would not be surprised at all if that happens.
There's we talked prior to the pod kicking off, and we were just saying how loaded the 2027 class is in terms of quarterbacks, right? And there's a lot of different teams that I'm kind of passing on the quarterback capital this year to wait for next year. But outside of Mendoza and of course you got Ty Simpson, there any other guys that could potentially be a starter in this league? I have one name in my mind, but I want to see if you say it.
Yeah, I would say no. I'm personally, I know this is kind of a hot take. I still like Kay Klubnik maybe the most out of side of Ty Simpson and Fernando and Mendoza and Ty Simpson. I don't know if he's gonna be a starter. Like maybe he could be a bridge guy for you for a year or two. But Carson Beck has been getting a lot of love lately. Maybe he sneaks into the day 2 conversation. But I think he's more of a career backup. Garrett Nussmeier maybe can do it as well. Drew Aller has all the tools to be a starter, but just has not developed into that really during his time at Penn State. So he needs a lot of work to get there. I know people love Cole Payton, but that's more of a projection for me too. And Taylor Green's the same way. So honestly, I think the only 2 guys in this class that I feel good saying, hey, they will get a shot to be a starter and like a shot to be a franchise quarterback would be Mendoza and would be Ty Simpson. After that, you really have, the other guys in this class really have to seize their opportunities when they get a shot. Because I do think, obviously, other guys in this class will get a shot at some point to start a game, due to injuries or maybe the starter is just not playing well or any factor like that. They will get a shot. They need to seize that shot, though, and be great. Whereas Mendoza and Ty Simpson, those 2 guys will get every chance in the world to be a franchise quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah. The name I was saying in my head was Drew Aller, just because the Browns this time last year before Shador, then that whole thing happened, would have ran up to the podium to take Drew Aller. And now, I mean, he's an afterthought. And that is just crazy to me. I'm like, this guy can ball, but can he? I don't know.
Why do you believe that the Browns would have ran up there if they didn't have the Shador thing?
It was just their prototypical guy. Like that is what the Browns, have said. They were on the, saying like, yo, if he would have came out, we probably wouldn't have done the trade. We would have straight up just taken Drew because he looked that good at Penn State.
He grew up in Ohio, and he grew up a Browns fan
gosh.
too. He grew up a Browns fan his entire life, so it would have been like the prodigal son returns home. So I'm with you. He probably should have declared after last year because he actually probably would have ended up being a first round pick in last year's draft. But obviously the injury wasn't great this year, and the tape wasn't great this year for Drew Aller. That's why he's probably going to end up being a third round pick, maybe even a fourth round pick this year too.
Man. All right, let's talk a bit about trades, wheeling and dealing. Who do you think which team would you feel like might be the most willing to wheel and deal on Thursday night, first round of the draft?
Yes, I think the team that's I've heard so often looking to move up in the draft is Dallas. And I think there's a lot of teams that obviously want to move down. Again, like I said before, it's just not a great draft, I think. So I think there's a lot of teams that are saying, hey, let's get some more capital for maybe day 2 or day 3 of the draft this year, and then maybe it's add some capital for which would be an excellent draft next year. So there's a lot of teams looking to move down. The one team I've heard that wants to move up is, like you guys said before, the Dallas Cowboys. I think they are a team that's going to be looking to move up to get a premium player in this draft, whoever that might be, whether it be Jeremiah Love, whether it be Sonny Styles, who I think will be excellent in that defense too, whoever it might be, Caleb Downs maybe too. That'd be, they might be the ones moving up, maybe to Arizona at number 3 overall. We know Monty Ossenford, the GM there, he is very willing to move off of his pick in the top 3. He's done it before as well. So that could be an opportunity because I think the guys that Arizona's looking at, they probably think, hey, we can get a great player at number 12 overall if we need to. That would fit a need for us too. So that could be a spot. Cleveland, I know, might be looking to move down as well from number 6 overall because I think they should look to move down from number 6 overall because I do think at number 12 they could still get a great tackle or wide receiver who they most likely take at number 6 anyway. So why not take that guy or a similar player at number 12 and get more picks out of it too? So that's another team that can move down too. But yeah, the one team that I've really heard the most is looking to actually move up is the Dallas Cowboys. After that, we'll see what happens. It's always a surprise on draft day to see what teams do. Like maybe someone moves up for Ty Simpson in this class, just try to get him as well in there. We'll see. Like maybe Arizona, if they move down from number 3 overall, maybe they trade back into the first round with the extra picks they get and get Ty Simpson somewhere late in the first round with all the Jacoby Brissett contract negotiations going on right now too. So who knows? I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch on draft day. But yeah, the only team that I expect to try to make a move up is the Dallas Cowboys right now.
Maybe the Arizona Cardinals should have moved out of that 10 spot when they took Jared Rosen or Josh Rosen, or maybe they should have just drafted Lamar Jackson and they wouldn't be talking about this situation and having a quarterback problem right now anyways. But anyway, speaking of teams that are potentially wheeling and dealing, we have not talked about Miggy's Atlanta Falcons at this point. I'm sorry, Mig, I'm going to take this from you. They don't have a first round pick. Can you see them trying to get back into the first round somewhere? Or is it sort of dependent how the draft sort of falls? Like, what are you looking for them to do in this draft for the Atlanta Falcons? Because again, we've talked a lot about, and Miggy can attest to this, about how much they needed pass rushers. They went after James Pierce Jr. last year. They moved back into the first round to get him, and that certainly has not worked out.
Yeah, the problem is for Atlanta, though, like they don't have a lot of picks to work with right now. So like you can talk about like wanting to move up, but like you have the 48th pick, the 79th pick, and then after that, I mean, it's 122, 215, and 231. You only have 5 picks in this draft, and then next year you don't have any extra picks either. You have just your regular allotment of picks, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round. That's all you got. It's not like you have extra picks in 2027 either. So maybe they do get desperate, but if I'm Atlanta, I mean, with just the lack of picks they have right now, like I said, only 5 picks this year, not a lot of them, and none of the top 45 of the draft. I think they just kind of stick where they are. Maybe they trade up a little bit in day 2 of the draft, but I don't think if I'm Atlanta, I would not advise them to move it into the first round of the draft. I just don't think they have the picks to do it. And if you do, get really desperate, then you start giving up picks in future years, and all of a sudden you just start losing all these picks, right? That's you don't want to get into that scenario. I know the James Pierce Jr. thing. Like I love the rookie year he had. Obviously, the off-field issues might kill his career, unfortunately, but. Yeah, if I'm Atlanta, man, I mean, there's some good corners and some good receivers in this class that they could be looking at. Maybe a linebacker or a D tackle too, but I think probably corner or receiver they're probably looking at the most. But yeah, I don't know if they have the capital to move up, honestly. So I would kind of advise them, hey, let's just stick where we are and let's see how the board falls to us. Because as of right now, I mean, they don't have a lot of picks to play with right now.
I'm praying that Jacob Rodriguez falls to the Atlanta.
Oh, I'll be awesome. Yeah,
I mean, that's like getting a first round pick and just for free. I am praying that there's some.
Oh, dude, how about like D'Angelo Pons too? That's another guy that
my
could be perfect,
God,
perfect for them in Atlanta. Yeah.
Let's talk about and stay on the theme of falls, because there's a guy that I am shocked is not in everybody's top 10. And I get that measurables and all these things, but I know what I saw in the national championship. Why is Ruben Bain not on every single person's top 10? Like, what am I missing something, man?
I don't think so, man. I think there's two reasons. I think obviously the report that came out recently isn't great, but teams have apparently known about this for a long time now. So I think it won't affect him recently. You know, the media is obviously catching up to the report right now, but it seems to be a situation that's done with. I don't think there's going to be any ramifications going forward. So I think they're totally fine there. The other reason is the arm length, right? Because I think he has I believe the fourth shortest arms ever recorded for an edge rusher, or somewhere close to that. And all the guys above him, or at least below him, I should say, in terms of arm length, all of them were taken in like the fourth or fifth round or later, or not drafted at all, honestly. So he would be, if he was drafted in the first round, he would be he would have the shortest arms ever recorded for an edge rusher in the first round, which teams do really care about arm length for edge rushers. And he has very, very short arms for the position. So, but what I'll say is, like you said, you know, the arm length is an outlier, but the tape is an outlier too. Like I thought he was the best defensive player in college football this past season. He led the nation in pressures, was one of the best run defenders in the country too. It was crazy just how good he was. And not only this year, like his true freshman year at Miami, he was a dominant player. A little banged up as a sophomore, but when he was in the field, he was still a really good player. And like I said, this year, he exploded and became the superstar that we all know he is right now. And like I said before, this draft is not good enough to let a guy like Ruben Bain fall out of the top 5 or even top 10 of the draft due to poor arm length, right? So I think I'm with you, man. I think Ruben Bain has to be a top 10 pick. I think he should be a top 10 pick in this draft. And I know the arm length is an outlier, but I'm willing to bet on him over a lot of guys in this class. I have a lot more questions with than Ruben Bain right now. I don't think his arm length is enough of a question mark in this draft specifically. Again, a draft that I don't think is very good at the top of the draft. I think he has to go somewhere in the top 10 because the tape is just too good.
Now, we've heard about this, obviously, the blockbuster deal with Dexter Lawrence just going through, and supposedly A.J. Brown is going to be on the table for the New England Patriots, given his affiliation with Bray previously as a Tennessee Titan. But is there any other kind of rumblings in terms of potential rumors? I mean, I saw something, and I don't know how true it is, but potentially there's a blockbuster for Puka that is dealing because of his off the field issues and his new contract, and the Rams really wanting like a big haul from somebody in the top 5. But could you see something like that on draft night?
That's interesting. Yeah, that'd be a massive one. That would be huge if that did happen. The AJ Brown one, I would not. I think that AJ Brown's probably gonna end up being a Patriot. I've heard Adam Schefter talk about maybe Jonathan Grenard going to Philadelphia as well. So I think that could be someone to watch out for. The Vikings edge rusher too. So I think that's definitely one to watch. Like maybe some players that have not played well recently, like Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. Like maybe they get dealt on draft day to a team that kind of has an open quarterback competition right now. Maybe Spencer Rattler too. Maybe guys like Brandon Ayuk, Keon Coleman, Kenny Moore, Kyle Pitts, Kayvon Thibodeau. Like those are some guys to watch out for. But yeah, I think that the big domino is going to be AJ Brown. I do expect him to be a New England Patriot very, very soon. But after that, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I think some of the quarterbacks that most likely are gonna be looking to play elsewhere, like Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, the biggest names of those guys. Those are the guys that maybe could be dealt on draft day too.
Joseph?
Yes. I can't. I gotta ask. Okay, it's a selfish question. It's 100% a selfish question. It's a fan question. I just want to know how you feel about CJ Allen as a prospect, like in terms of where he could go, around when he'll be selected, longevity of his career. I just want to know Max's thoughts on CJ Allen as a prospect.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go top 40 in the draft. I think the first round hype has died a little bit on him, but he still could end up going in the first round because I think there's some teams in the back half of the first round that really need help at linebacker, so he could be a guy that helps out there. I think CJ Allen's a day 2 player. I think the coverage ability is sorely lacking right now. I think that's a big issue in his game right now, and that's why he would drop to the second round for me, and why I'm a little bit lower on him than I think some other people in this class. But what I will say for CJ Allen is he might be the best run defender at the linebacker position in this draft too, and we've seen how much that matters now in today's day and age. With running the football has become a lot more prevalent in recent years. With all the teams doing, with all the 2 high safeties that teams are playing with right now, you got to run the football well, and now you got to stop the run really well too. So I think CJ Allen, if you want a run stuffing linebacker, he is your guy absolutely. If you want a guy who's playing coverage really well, I would look elsewhere in this linebacker class. So he's probably a second round player, but an early second round player at that, and maybe he could sneak into the first round too. But yeah, right now I project him to be more of a top 40 pick rather than a first round pick right now.
I think that's fair. I think his coverage grade's not been the best. But I had to get my one in there. I had to get my personal, I had to show my fandom a little bit, and I wanted to ask about CJ. But moving on back to just the generalization of the draft, are there some guys that I know we ask first round, guys that could sneak into the first round, but these day 2, day 3 guys that are pretty much solidified, hey, they're probably going to be a day 2, day 3 guy. There's no real chance for them to move anywhere outside of that. Who are some names that are in that group that you think could really pop and end up having a long NFL career? And I know that's very hard to project because there's so much that goes into it in terms of fit and health and so many things, but just kind of wanted to get a general, hey, who are your some favorite, day 2, day 3 guys that you think could really end up making a roster and then maybe even competing for a starting spot at some point on some of these NFL teams?
Yeah, I'll give you a few. Jacob Rodriguez and D'Angelo Pons are the first 2 that come to mind right there. I think that those 2 players were such awesome college football players, and both of them showed that while they both are undersized, they both were terrific athletes at the combine too. Or Pons for his pro day, I think it was, where he ran the 40, he ran like a 4.3 40. Those 2 guys I want on my football team. I think those 2 guys are man, these are just 2 amazing football players. I don't care about their size. You see how good they were on the field, and you saw how good they were in testing. I would take those guys in the first round, not think twice about it. Another guy, Joe, I think you'll really like this one. I think Kristen Miller is really underrated right now. The Georgia D tackle. I think he, just like his teammate CJ Allen, man, he is a unreal run defender. And the reason why I have him above a guy like Caden McDonald, who I still really like in this class, the D tackle out of Ohio State. Caden McDonald, again, unreal run defender, but Kristen Miller brings more as a pass rusher than Caden McDonald does, in my opinion, too. So I think Kristen Miller is a really good player, probably going to be a second round pick at D tackle, but he's my number 2 D tackle in this class right now. After that, I think AJ Halsey, the safety out of LSU, he's a really good player too. I would probably take him late first round, but he's going to be more of a top 50 pick than a first round pick. So I like him a lot in this class too. So yeah, those are some of the guys right there. Jacob Rodriguez, D'Angelo Pons, Kristen Miller, and AJ Halsey, I would say, are kind of my guys right now in this class. And I think all of those guys will go in the second or third round, but are guys that I really love too. The only other one I'll throw out there is I think he'll probably be a fourth round pick, but I would take that guy somewhere in the top 50, is Jake Slaughter, the center out of Florida. I think he's the best center in the draft, and I think he is a special center prospect, honestly. I thought he was absolutely dominant in his 3 years at Florida as their starting center, and then he tested out as like a 95th percentile athlete at the combine, kind of like Jacob Rodriguez and D'Angelo Pons. Like, he has a great height for the position, so unlike D'Angelo Pons in that aspect, but got to add a little bit of play strength like Jacob Rodriguez does too. But the tape is elite in the SEC, and he's an elite athlete too. Like, I don't understand what the hang up is for Jake Slaughter. So I would take that guy somewhere in day 2 of the draft. Most likely he's going to be a fourth round pick though.
All right, we talked a little bit about you hating the running back class after Jeremiah Love. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's your favorite position in this draft class? You think that has like the most depth to it?
Yeah, I think, because I think it's very easy to always say, oh, I love this receiver class. Like, every year, the receiver class is good. Like, it's just the way football's heading nowadays. And actually, I think compared to other years, this receiver class actually is not that good this year. So I'll stay away from there. I'll say one that we have not had a good class at this position in a long time, but I think is an awesome class this year. This linebacker class is outstanding, I think, this year. I think that's the strength of this draft. If you need a linebacker this year, this is the draft for you. I think I think Arvell Reese is better as a linebacker than an edge rusher. So you got him right there. He might be the number 2 overall pick. I think Sonny Styles, his teammate at Ohio State, he's the best linebacker that we've seen in maybe a decade plus, like maybe since Luke Kuechly coming out of college. So I think he's the best linebacker prospect that we've seen in a very, very long time. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick too. Jacob Rodriguez, talked about him already. He had one of the greatest years we've ever seen a linebacker have at Texas Tech this past year, and was an elite athlete at the combine, had an elite Senior Bowl too. He's a first-round caliber player, in my opinion. Mentioned CJ Allen before too. Awesome run defender. So if you need a run defender, he'd be a lot of fun. Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker out of Texas, freak athlete. Got to develop in some other mental areas of his game, but the athleticism is all there. Jake Golday is an unreal linebacker out of Cincinnati too that I really like. Kyle Lewis, unreal coverage player, kind of built like a safety, but use him as kind of like a Nicky Manwari type of weapon in your defense. He could be really, really good in that role too. So, man, this linebacker class, there's a bunch of other guys I didn't even mention before, like Josiah Trotter, Jayshon Barham, Deontay Lawson. Like, and we have not had a good linebacker class in a very long time. The position's kind of, is at a low point, I think, right now in the NFL, but we are getting some outstanding linebacker prospects to enter the NFL next year. So I think right now this linebacker class is probably the best that I've seen in some time.
All right, I don't mean to go super negative, and I know it's sometimes you don't want to talk negatively about somebody, you don't want to project anything too bad, but I'm just curious your thoughts on covering the draft and covering college football as close as you do. Who is somebody that you've heard a lot of hype about, potentially in the first round, second round, something along those lines, a higher draft pick, and you watch the tape and you're thinking about it and you're just like, I don't see it. I don't get it. So talk to me a little bit about maybe a guy like that, or somebody who thinks could potentially not live up to their hype. And I don't want to label them bust, but for lack of a better term, somebody who might be a bust that a lot of people were really high on going into this draft.
Yeah, I'll give you like a couple guys or a few guys, maybe even. I think Arvell Reese, where he's getting drafted, I think is going to be higher than I would take him. Personally, he's a much bigger risk than I think people are letting on right now. So I could certainly see a world, because I think the tools are incredible for that kid. But I could certainly see a world where, hey, if you don't have a creative defensive coordinator or a defensive-minded head coach, like, he could fail. If you think, oh, he's just an edge rusher for me, he could fail in that role. So I think that's could be an issue. If he doesn't go to the right team, it could be a big issue for Arvell Reese, in my opinion, more so than other players in this class. I think Monroe Freeling, the tackle out of Georgia, I like him a lot. He's a great pass blocker and a freak athlete. Just got to develop more. So I think if he gets drafted in the top 15, like he's being mocked right now, that could be a little bit of a risky pick, in my opinion. The other one that I'm a little bit out on as a first-round player is Keldrick Faulk, the edge rusher out of Auburn. I think he's an awesome run defender, maybe the best run defending edge in the entire draft. But this guy has been 150th in the country in each of the last 2 years in pass rush win rate. So he is just so underdeveloped as a pass rusher right now. Now, he is very young. He's 20 years old right now. And he played a lot of D tackle for Auburn too, which kind of limits him as a pass rusher as well in terms of his rush angles. But it's a lot of projection for Keldrick Faulk. He might go top 20 in the draft. I would not take him that high, just considering, I was kind of out on Shamar Stewart and Mykel Williams as, those kind of players too, because they're the same kind of thing where it's, great run defenders, but as pass rushers, there's a lot of development needed for them right now. So, I would say those guys right there, Keldrick Faulk, Monroe Freeling a little bit, and then Arvell Reese at especially if he goes number 2 overall. Arvell Reese is worth a top 20 pick, absolutely, but number 2 overall is a little too rich for my blood.
Is there a team in this draft that, everybody obviously wants to bat 1,000, but what is the one team that cannot afford to mess up this draft?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really good question. I think Miami comes to mind. That roster is so barren of talent right now that it's like, man, you better get some great players. And they got 2 first-round picks this year, but they got to figure out whether or not Malik Willis can be their franchise quarterback. And if you give him that receiving core right now, it's one of the worst receiving cores I've seen in a very long time. So that if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm saying, hey, with one of our 2 first-round picks, we better get a receiver, because that receiving core is just not good enough right now. So that's a team that has to nail it, in my opinion. The Giants now with 2 top 10 picks, it's like, all right, like, you better nail them now, because you gave up an all-pro D tackle, which I think was actually a decent trade for the Giants, but at the same time, it's like, you better nail those 2 picks now. So that's another team that I would throw in that mix. The Jets too. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure mounting on Aaron Glenn right now, and I think he better the 2 first-round picks they have, they better nail it. Honestly, all the teams with 2 first-round picks, like the Cowboys, man, you better help that defense out with your 2 first-round picks too. So I think those are another team there too. So yeah, those are some of the teams that I look at right now saying, man, they really better nail this draft because it could get ugly. Cleveland, for example, to Cleveland with their 2 first-round picks, they need to get help for whoever playing quarterback for them, not only this year, but potentially next year if they do get Arch Manning or Julian Sayin or Dante Moore or someone like that. That supporting cast in Cleveland on their offense right now is simply not good enough. So I think they need to nail those picks too. So honestly, you could throw a dart at the wall for almost any team with 2 first-round picks, and I'd be like, yeah, they better nail them in this draft because they definitely have a lot of holes.
Good stuff.
Jay, you got any more?
That's it for me, man. I'm tapped out.
All right, here's my last one for you. And this doesn't have anything to do with this draft class, but it does pertain to NFL drafts of the past. I was just sort of sitting here thinking about this as we were all conversating and talking and listening to you talk about the draft, Max. Who is a guy who you loved coming out of college that you're surprised hasn't panned out in the NFL?
Oh, man.
There's probably a bunch of them, but I don't know. I was just sort of thinking about it. You obviously are barren of knowledge when it comes to college football, and I know you appreciate all football, not just college, the NFL as well. But just sitting here thinking about, man, whether it's a quarterback or somebody else just that you loved coming out of college that just really hasn't found it in the NFL yet or didn't find it in the NFL at all.
Yeah, I'll give you, because I've been doing this for a few years now. The one that is, and it's still very young, and we're still very early on into his career, and I still think he could be a great player down the line. But it's looking scary for Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. That is the one where I'm like, man, I don't get like what happened here. Like you were such an amazing player out of college. Like it was hard to find a weakness in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s tape, and it just seems like he lost his confidence. Honestly, it hurt to watch sometimes when he was out there. It's like I think honestly, like I don't want to speak for him, but it seemed like he had the yips at times out there. Just unable to catch the football. And again, he's very young into his career. He's only completed his second year last year, so a very long way to go in his career. But I mean, we were talking about that guy right there and saying, man, that guy could be better than his dad, and his dad's like a top 5, top 10 receiver of all time, right? So the fact that we're talking about him like that, and now he's looking like this so far through 2 years, I've been pretty surprised by that too. So I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. was the one guy that I'm like, man, I'm really floored that guy is not, one of the top at least like 15 receivers in the NFL right now. Like he's not even close to that right now. Again, very long way to go in his career. The other one I'll throw out there too, Chase Young coming out of Ohio State was a can't miss prospect, and he's been solid throughout his career. Actually, has been a pretty solid player, but nothing like the player that we saw at Ohio State either. But the 2 ones I'll say right now are ironically both Ohio State, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chase Young. Those 2 are, I'm like, man, I don't understand what happened there.
Mick, you got anything else?
I'm solid enough. I've listened and got everything I need to know from Mad Max, man. Appreciate you as always, bro.
Yeah, well, hey, you can find him on Twitter at CFB Max Chadwick. Again, college football analyst for Pro Football Focus. Check out the Preferred Walk-On podcast as well, wherever you get your podcast, and get all of his great content over there at Pro Football Focus. You have anything you guys want to plug anything for the draft that you guys are doing? Any specials? Anything anybody can check out?
Yeah, if you want to follow the show Preferred Walk-On just on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast right now, man. We're doing one more draft video tomorrow, 3-round mock draft, which will be a lot of fun. And then starting on Sunday, I think Sunday we're going to be doing a way too early mock draft for 2027. Very excited about that because that class looks incredible right now. And then right after that, man, we're getting deep into college football content. I cannot wait. It's always right after the college football season's over, we kind of shift into draft mode until the draft. And I'm always just can't wait to get back to college football and talk about the upcoming season of college football. And starting on Tuesday of next week, we're going back to that. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, man, 3-round mock draft coming out tomorrow, and then a way too early mock draft coming out after the draft is over. So check out Preferred Walk-On YouTube. And then soon, wherever you get your podcast, we're kind of getting that set up right now. But check out the YouTube if you guys can.
Nice. Beautiful stuff. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to speak for him. If you ever have any openings or anything along those lines, not that we would ever want to lose him, but Joseph Guthrie's got to get on some Pro Football Focus stuff, whether it's on a show or something. He is all about college football. If you ever need somebody to talk some ball with, Joseph is outstanding. But Max, we appreciate your time, and thanks so much for being with us here tonight. And always enjoy the conversation and getting a chance to see your face and eating some grass and all the good things, brother.
Of course. Thank you guys.